Summer is here, and with it the most pleasant time of year in the Pacific Northwest. The skies are clear, and it seems only natural to take advantage of this time to go out hiking in the many national and state parks that surround Seattle. And so my partner and I have decided to go out with our friends from the different parts of our life to enjoy this time in nature together. On the first weekend, we decided to head out to Carter Falls, which can be found along the Wonderland Trail in Mount Rainier National Park. We drove out with some of our friends from Seattle in order to meet up with old companions from Florida who are currently living in South Washington. When we began our walk towards the waterfall, we were met with a riverbed of stones which could only be crossed by this bridge made using the trunk of a tree. The trail truly began after the bridge, and we began our steady ascent towards the falls. On the way, we were flanked by a river and what looks like a mountain. Don't take my word for it. Although the trail started off pretty level, eventually it became an incline at which my lack of exercise started to show.
Hi, I'm Alex. As you can see, I'm really out of shape.
Anyways, the good news is I survived. Seeing as the trail was only 2.5 miles, it was only a matter of time before we reached Carter Falls itself. If you continue deeper into the trail, it was only a handful of minutes before you would reach Madcap Falls as well. Before heading back for the day, we stopped by Kautz Creek Trail. Although not as stunning as the view at Carter Falls, there was a view of Mount Rainier from the head of this trail as well.
Is it the viewpoint?
Do you like this viewpoint, Takuma?
So much trees in front of
Viewpoint?
Rainier.
I don't think Takuma likes this viewpoint very much.
We learned that Kautz Creek flows straight from the Kautz Glacier, which runs along the side of Mount Rainier. As a result, before we even arrived, we had the idea that Kautz Creek was going to be a formidable flowing river. However, it ended up being just a small creek from our first encounter with it. Anyways, the fact that we were practically alone on this trail and the time spent hanging out by the tiny creek definitely made it a good bonding experience. On our way back, we stopped by a Ukrainian restaurant located in Ashford, Washington. At the front, we were greeted by flowers, and both the exterior and the interior of the restaurant had a nice cottage aesthetic. The pierogies were pretty good too. Once we finished eating, we made sure to stop by one of the roadside stands selling Rainier cherries, and took a bag for the road. And although the day's trip came to a close, it was only a matter of a week before we were on the road again, headed towards the Rosario Beach trails at Deception Pass State Park. This time, some of my friends from my time in New York City came to visit, and knowing that they probably did not have easy access to nature in the Big Apple, I took them to check out one of the nearby state parks. The weather was absolutely on our side the day we went, and I must admit that I enjoy the trails here quite a bit.
So nice, good weather. Temperature.
Just as a little bit of background, Deception Pass is a strait that separates Whidbey Island from Fidalgo Island, and it is popularized by the characteristic bridge that connects the two islands. This hike takes place along the coast of this area, and as such, amazing sights abound. When we finally got the breathtaking view of Deception Pass Bridge, we sat down to have a bite to eat and enjoyed the views of the water from the top of the cliff.
何が気持ち悪い？あっち？わかめじゃない？ね。 yeah.
The trail in this area forks into two separate directions from a small beach, and once we returned in order to go down Lighthouse Point Trail, we decided to enjoy a little bit of time there just exploring by the shore. The beach was full of these tiny crabs, and unfortunately, the remains of some larger ones, who were possibly eaten by an otter we ran into.
You like the smell?
We then began our trek through Lighthouse Point Trail, which is a bit of a misnomer because there was not a single lighthouse to be seen. On the topic of names, Deception Pass derives its designation from George Vancouver, who had been misled to believe that Whidbey Island was a peninsula up until he came upon the strait. However, it is definitely no deception to say that the sights along the coast were captivating. The kelp looked like ominous creatures below the surface of the water, which contrasted with the pleasant blue of the sea.
What?
And before we knew it, 2 weeks had passed in an instant. Spending this time together in nature with our friends from all around opened up a chance to reconnect with old friends and to grow in our bonds with newer ones. As we move around the globe, we may miss the old days when we lived in the same cities, but I always cherish the fact that we were able to get together again as if time had never passed. Hope all of you watching enjoyed the video. See you next time!